Okay, so I'm going to move on to the NFC for the 2022-2023 season. Who makes the playoffs in the NFC? In no particular order, I have the Packers, I have the Eagles, I have the Rams, I have the 49ers, I have the Buccaneers, I have the Vikings, and I have the Panthers making the playoffs. Now, really quickly, some teams that a lot of people are high on that I'm not very high on, not too high on the Cowboys. I think that they were a product last year of Trevon Diggs and Micah Parsons having two unbelievably great seasons on defense. I don't think they're going to replicate that success this upcoming season. There's going to be natural regression to that defense that relied on a lot of turnovers last year. It's a tougher schedule this year. Not a whole lot of bad quarterbacks they will be facing this year. The division is improved. I don't believe in Mike McCarthy as a head coach. I've always been lower on Dak Prescott than most people. Amari Cooper is no longer walking through that building. I do like CeeDee Lamb as the number one wide receiver, but losing Amari Cooper is a huge deal. Tyron Smith is already injured, and I don't know if he'll be right at all this season or if he'll be back when he will be back. He could miss a lot of time. And they're a different team over the past couple of years when Tyron Smith has played and when he's been injured. So Dallas, to me, does not make the cut. I think the Eagles actually win that division. The New Orleans Saints, again, very similar to the Miami Dolphins. Amazingly talented roster. A lot of special players at a lot of positions. The roster is loaded from top to bottom at a lot of positions, but they don't check the two most important boxes, in my opinion. Head coach and quarterback. I'm not a big believer in Jameis Winston. I used to really be a big fan of Jameis when he was coming out of Florida State. I believed he was going to light the NFL on fire, be a franchise quarterback. He has not proven he can be that guy up to this point in his career. Saints fans keep talking about, Jameis Winston, 14 touchdowns, 3 interceptions last year, some crazy number like that. It was a small sample size, guys, and he was not even throwing the football down the field very much. Sean Payton very much protected Jameis Winston last year. He was not doing anything special. I don't think Jameis is going to put together the type of season the Saints fans believe he's going to put together. I think he's bound to screw up at some point. I'm rooting for Jameis because I like him as a person. I want him to do well, but I just don't think that Jameis is a franchise quarterback. And Dennis Allen being the head coach, not a huge fan. In 4 years as a head coach, up to this point, Dennis Allen has won 8 games and lost 28 of them. An 8-28 record. That is absolutely abysmal for a head coach. I don't think he was qualified to be a head coach. Again, maybe he got a raw deal the last time he was with the Raiders. Maybe that was why his record wasn't as good. But the Saints and the Cowboys don't make the cut for me. But the teams that are in the playoffs for me, Green Bay, we know what they are with Aaron Rodgers. And by the way, this is in no particular order. These are just the 7 teams I believe are going to make it in. Aaron Rodgers is that guy. He just won back-to-back MVPs. I think Aaron Rodgers is still an elite quarterback. The defense is absolutely loaded for Green Bay. So even though they lose Devontae Adams on offense, this is still a team with a good run game, a great quarterback, a very good head coach, a great defense. They'll probably win their division, and if not, they can at least sneak into the playoffs. I'm very high on the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles have put all the pieces around Jalen Hurts for him to succeed. A.J. Brown is now your number one wide receiver to complement Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert at tight end. Devontae Smith, obviously a wide receiver. Dallas Goedert, obviously a tight end. The run game is pretty good. Jalen Hurts is going to be a part of that as a running quarterback. The defense is improved from last year. The Philadelphia Eagles have all the pieces, like I said, to win a Super Bowl. It all comes down to how good Jalen Hurts is. And I do think Jalen Hurts is better than people give him credit for. I think he's going to surprise some people this year. The Rams were just in the Super Bowl last year. They've reloaded once again. This is not the same talented team that got to a Super Bowl and ultimately won the Super Bowl. But Sean McVay, to me, is the best head coach in the entire NFL. Matthew Stafford's a great quarterback. The weapons are very good. The offensive line does worry me a little bit. And the defense, it lost some key pieces, and really you're just relying on Aaron Donald to continue to be dominant, even though you did have Bobby Wagner, and you still have Jalen Ramsey. But again, the Rams, from a talent perspective, a lot of teams are not better than them. They are in a lower division, but I believe they're going to make the playoffs once again. The 49ers. This might be the best roster in the entire NFL, people. The 49ers the past couple of years were winning in spite of Jimmy Garoppolo. Not because of Jimmy Garoppolo, but in spite of Jimmy Garoppolo. I believe ultimately, by the end of the season, the 49ers will have upgraded at quarterback. And that's scary because they were nearly able to win a Super Bowl, a couple of years ago with Jimmy Garoppolo holding them back. I think Trey Lance is a real talent. Now, I don't know if Trey Lance can get them to the promised land in year number 1 as a starter. There will be some growing pains. He is very inexperienced as a quarterback, but I think the 49ers, their roster is loaded. They should make the playoffs. I'm not too high on the Buccaneers this year. I think they win their division by default, but yeah, what can I say? This roster is still very talented. The defensive line is very good. The secondary does worry me, but they have some good players. But I will say Tom Brady is still capable of playing at an MVP level, even at age 45. I will say I think Tom Brady has checked out a little bit. Not quite sure how focused he is, but I think when he's on the field, he'll channel that competitive nature that he has. The wide receiver core is once again loaded, led by Mike Evans. I think the Buccaneers can win anywhere from 10 to 11 games. The Vikings on paper the past couple of years have been one of the most talented teams. Now they have a head coach in Kevin O'Connell that I actually believe in. Kirk Cousins is not great, but I think Kirk Cousins is good enough to get this team to the playoffs. Justin Jefferson might already be the best wide receiver in the entire NFL. He's got Adam Thielen by his side. Dalvin Cook, when healthy, is a great running back. They added Zadarius Smith to that defense, which already had a lot of stars. Minnesota could be a sneaky team. I don't know if they're a Super Bowl contender, but I believe they're a playoff team. The one team that might shock you guys is Carolina. Carolina, from a roster standpoint, they might have the most underrated roster in the entire NFL. That defense has a lot of playmakers. J.C. Horn, Brian Burns, they have good players on all 3 levels of their defense. At linebacker, at pass rusher, defensive line. Derrick Brown's a real player on that defensive line. And I think Baker Mayfield has something to prove this year. The Cleveland Browns bailed on him for Deshaun Watson. Now, I will say Deshaun Watson's better than Baker, so I understand why they bailed on Baker. But I think Baker is going to come out with a chip on his shoulder this year. And I think a motivated Baker Mayfield, a healthy Baker Mayfield, which he was not last year, is going to play well. He has weapons to throw to in DJ Moore, in Robbie Anderson, in Terrence Marshall. Christian McCaffrey is one of the best running backs in the entire NFL. I think Carolina, from a roster standpoint, they're very underrated. Now, we got to see how the offensive line gels this year. We have to see if Matt Rule is a good head coach because he has not proven to be a good head coach yet. But I do believe that Baker could be the guy to help get Matt Rule over the hump. I believe Carolina is a sneaky good team this year, and they will make the playoffs. They're going to make the playoffs as a wild card. However, I think that Tampa Bay wins that division. But I could see the Panthers win the division next year. But there you have it. In the playoffs, I have Green Bay, Philadelphia, the Los Angeles Rams, San Francisco, Tampa Bay, Minnesota, and Carolina, led by Baker Mayfield. Those are my teams that make the playoffs in the NFC in 2022-2023.